Oh my gosh, if you believe that it all starts from inside, then you're ahead of the game and you're ahead of the crowd because believing in that in our mind and our minds are directly linked to every single aspect of ourselves, our health, our leadership, our relationships, our passion, everything that we do in life is all linked to how we believe in our mind. I can't wait for you to meet our guest today. She is an expert in this. She is backed by Hay House. She does multiple trainings on how we think that we are or are not enough in this world. And it's a huge topic, people, and I cannot wait for you to hear her thoughts on this. We are all about on the Aaron Strayer Show. If that's where you're at, awesome. If you're on any other platform, there's a link right above you in the comments. Go ahead and click that. Come on over here to the Aaron Strayer Show platform, and we'll be able to see you and see your comments over here. Make sure you say hi. We'll give you a little shout out when you're over here. We are all about uplifting, leveraging, promoting, cultivating, expanding amazing female entrepreneurs that are out there in the world doing things just a little bit differently. Our guest has quite a twist on things and how to do them differently. And I'm so excited for you to meet her. Who am I? My name's Aaron Strayer, and we're covering corporates and entrepreneurs hire me to get them beyond the basics of business because most of them are indecisive. They're held hostage by their own fear. We're probably going to talk about some of that today, maybe. And honestly, flat out complacent. So I help them get past that. I can't do that. I don't know what the next step is, and I don't know hows that are clearly standing in their way. And bottom line, I provide executive level accountability sessions so that you and your business get the attention to detail that they deserve. So, our guest today, she's had over 30 years as an entrepreneur. She's owned multiple different franchises. She's an author. She's an international speaker. She does leadership training and is an expert in leadership training. She is a courageous visionary. I love that. And she's a national trainer for Canada for Hero Your Life workshops and coaching. Hello, Victoria Johnson.
Hello, Erin, and thank you for that amazing introduction.
I'm so excited that you're on with us today. I cannot wait to talk about this. You're so around the fact that we can move from feeling less than into I am more than enough and I have enough. And I love that that is quite a little feather in your hat to be backed by Hay House. And if anybody is anywhere in my world, they know I got Louise Hay books all over. So kudos to you and amazing because that's quite an accomplishment. It's a lengthy process to become backed by Hay House Publishing and to be endorsed by them. So, wow.
Yes, I will say it's an amazing program, the Heal Your Life training program. We teach people to become workshop leaders and life coaches through the programs and that were initially laid out by Louise Hay herself. So the program is authorized by Hay House and approved by Louise Hay. And I will tell you, the first time that I saw my name on the Hay House website listed with all those amazing teachers, there was a lot of happy dancing going on.
You have like here and like, did it catch your throat? And yeah.
Absolutely. And to be honest with you, when I'm scrolling, every time I see it, I screenshot it. Yeah.
And, I think when I was trolling you, there's actually a picture on your website that's a Hay House reserved parking area.
Oh, yes. Now, I wish that was for me. Maybe in the future, who knows? But I just absolutely love that. Visiting the head offices and getting to see how things go behind the scenes. That was wonderful. And just this past week, I've been in Las Vegas for a Hay House conference where we had an information booth set up for people who wanted to learn more about the Heal Your Life programs. And we're able to have some great discussions with people like Reed Tracy, who's the CEO of Hay House, and Dr. Robert Holden, who does a lot of work with Louise with her philosophies and some books by her and so on. So it has been just a fabulous couple of weeks leading up to coming in and seeing you. So thank you for that.
What an awesome week in Vegas, right? Like just to sit there and rub elbows and hang out with those people, and they're just icons. And to be associated with them is pretty amazing. So I really want to talk about this moving from less than to more than enough, and your thoughts on that. You've written a book about this that we're going to talk about that, and that's launching. You guys have a free digital download from Victoria, compliments of her on that. But let's just dive in and grab your thoughts about that. Like, where do you even start? Like, where do you even start?
Okay, well, that's a really great question. And where it all starts, I wish it was someplace glamorous.
Yeah.
Where it all starts is the inner
Start there.
child, right? And that was one thing I noticed with writing the book. So the book is called Do That and Then Some, Transform Your Life from Less Than to More Than Enough. And I remember, being with Louise and listening to Louise talk, and she would say, inside each of us is that big fear, am I enough? The very core of all of our problems is, am I enough? Am I good enough? Am I lovable? And so when I started writing this book, I got through a few chapters and I wanted to name that first section. And I was trying to come up with something, that was very clever. There's no clever way of saying you need to heal your inner child. You just do. And the thing is that no one's exempt from having one. We all do. It doesn't matter how together you are, how young, how old, how rough and tough. We all have this child that really needs to be heard. And so the first chapter is your inner child is a superhero, right?
Oh.
So this child has superpowers which they can use for good or evil, and they will use them to get your attention. And so whether they are being reactive or whether they are being responsive is on how much healing has been done around the issues that keep showing up in your life and will keep showing up until this inner child is healed. So yes, to answer that question, that's where it all begins in my mind, is with that inner child.
Good morning, Pamela. How are you? She's listening in. We appreciate that. And for so many of us, when I know there's a huge movement, hey, I don't have to fix anything. I'm just fine the way I am, right? But yet something's missing.
Yes.
And you feel like you're not complete. I'm not going to say broken, but you feel like you're not complete.
Yes.
And I feel that I agree. You don't need to fix anything, but do we need to heal? I think so.
Yes, and you've said that very well. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because there's this whole movement, whether it's, when I lose 5 pounds, when I meet a man, when I have more money, when I buy a house, when I have a child. No, you're perfectly amazing today, right now, just the way you are.
Mm-hmm.
However, that healing piece is really important for going forward and growing in our lives. So that's where I find that inner child work really needs to be done. So instead of that, I'll be happy when, or I'll be content when, or my life will be better when, knowing that right now, right at this moment, you are enough. You are enough simply because you're here and breathing. You are lovable, and all of those pieces come together so incredibly beautifully. But I don't know about you, but for me, I found that I was repeating patterns in my life, and for my clients were repeating patterns in their lives over and over again, and they came from some core issues, and those core issues truly needed to be healed. So I'm really glad that you pointed out the difference between those words, fix and heal, because that healing piece is really important.
Yeah, and language is so important too. I'm a big component of languaging and making sure that the right word is used in the right context. And there's so much psychology around languaging. So I love the way that you put that, is that healing does get to happen, and where it happens. And I'm sure there's specific techniques that you go into and you use in your coaching, in and around that. But do you also feel that it's connected, like those repetitive behaviors and patterns that you mentioned? Do you, like, I know for me, until I took care of them, they started manifesting in physical ailments.
Absolutely.
I'm going to use the word
Absolutely.
ailment.
Yes, yes. Or, one of Louisa's ways of putting it was dis-ease.
Yes.
So the DIS dash ease, right? So dis-ease in the body. And there is the second section of the book. That was a great lead in, by the way, because the section of the book, second section is improving your physical health and your thoughts and feelings about it.
Mm.
And so quite often, all of this negative self-talk that we can participate in without even necessarily realizing that we're doing it.
We're super good at it.
Yes, yes. Well, many of us have had years of practice.
Better than others. We've been
So
doing it.
really, pardon me?
We've been doing it longer.
There you go. So really transforming the language around our physical dis-ease and into what it is that we want our lives to be like, and changing the focus. So you've probably heard that expression too: what you focus on, you get more of. And I think we've all got those people in our lives who, whether they're talking about maybe headaches or sore joints or whatever it may be in their life, they own it and they claim it and they talk about it every day, right? It just becomes a big part of their existence. Where if the focus was switched on, what, I'm feeling really good this morning, and my body is moving easily, and I lovingly care for it, it changes the whole energy of, oh God, I'm getting up this morning and my body's a little stiff, but maybe it's not as stiff as it was yesterday, and I sure hope it's not more stiff tomorrow because I'm going to overdo it today. Just that whole shift of energy. And really, I believe wholeheartedly in the mind-body connection.
Oh.
And so often, when we are in these situations where we feel chronic shame or anger, that there is a manifestation within the body. And, it may be something small or something large, but what we believe, I believe our thoughts become our reality, and what we believe really does become true. And so the friendlier we can be to our body, and the more loving and the more supportive that we can be to our body, the better results we get from our body. Does that make sense to you?
I agree 150,000% on that. And mindset on that and shifting your thought process.
Yes.
I know here in my house, my husband's been dealing with some things, and he like thought on it and thought it and dwelled and dwelled and dwelled and dwelled and dwelled and dwelled and dwelled. And then one day he just was like, I'm done thinking that way. And poof, he was like, hey, you know what? They'll get me the answers when they get me the answers. Until then, I'm not going to worry about it. And like, it was almost immediate.
Yes.
The flipping,
Yes.
because he was almost making himself more sick.
Yes, and I can feel the difference in your explanation when you say it, just the release of the emotions around it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was interesting for a non-shifter.
Yes,
I
yes.
don't know how to describe my husband that thinks I'm way too woo-woo, and some of the things that I think about are way left of his analytical brain. But that was very, very apparent, and he even saw it. I mean, he was like, hey, like I really slept well last night. And, they told me they'd have me the answers by this date. And until then, I'm not going to worry about it.
Yes. Oh, I love it.
Mhm.
So, it's funny how in our lives, there may be people who think we're woo-woo, but we do eventually rub off on them. I've noticed this too in my relationships with friends, or even in raising my children. It's wonderful to hear them repeat back the things that throughout the years have been shared with them.
Yeah. That kind of leads me into my next question. And how can all of these relationships that we have, how can that intersect with, how we think that we are less than or more than enough, that we are,
Yes.
our mindset
Yes.
is okay, right? How?
Oh, this is so great. We're talking about this. This has been on my mind the last few days. The whole relationships, our personal relationships, and what they say about us. And notice I didn't say what they say about the other person. It's what they say about us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you think about family relationships and how you interact with within your family, I was doing some writing yesterday, and what I was writing about is really taking a look at maybe you can think of somebody, whether it's a friend or a family or a coworker. Maybe you can think of one person who you really avoid having interactions with as much as you can, but you know that there are certain times that you have to have interactions with them. And we can quite often create a scenario in our own mind
Sure.
before that occurs. So let's say it's a work environment and you've got a big meeting coming up and you know that this person is going to be in the room and they're going to be trying to take all the credit and be loudmouthed, not let anybody else have an opinion and so on. So you've already created this scenario in your mind. You've put the energy around it. Walking in, you are projecting this. You're projecting it and you're expecting it. And you're just sitting there, wait for it. And when it happens, in your mind, you're like, yep, told you so.
Knew that was coming.
Yeah. So what I was writing about yesterday is really taking responsibility for your part in that. So perhaps this person has really been doing some work and wanting to change and make a difference in their life. But because you're walking in with this expectation and this attitude and this energy, you're really helping to manifest that situation. And so taking a look at that work environment is one way of looking at it. And of course, you can consider also your family and your friends in those, but really taking accountability for your responsibility within the relationship. And then secondly, just taking it a bit further and maybe you decide that this person actually is a toxic person or a person that is somebody who needs to be demoted in your life rather than promoted. And that's okay too. So then there's ways of limiting the exposure. So maybe you decide, maybe it's a family member and maybe every holiday they drink too much and then there's conflict.
Yeah.
So you can make decisions ahead of time with those relationships too. And maybe on holidays you get together at lunchtime instead of dinner. Or maybe you have a preset time that you're going to leave. You don't have to participate in the negative behavior just because someone else is choosing to be that way, right? So first of all, like I said, not prejudging, but secondly, if you have determined that this person is not necessarily going to change, or perhaps their behavior is manipulative, you can limit your own exposure to them. And then of course, there's people that what I was writing about was gardening and how when we garden, we yank the weeds out, right? So the same thing with your garden of friends and associates, that you can actually just yank those weeds out of your garden and make room for the more productive plants that are going to nourish your life.
I love that analogy, and it's funny because the plant analogy can go so much farther because as we grow and we form those roots, right? Like we are growing, but not always are the people that we surround ourselves with or choose to hang out with, and sometimes it's family.
Mm-hmm.
They don't grow with us, and they're like they're not fertilizing us, and they're not allowing us to continue to grow, and so you have to remove the bug from the garden, right? Like you got to get rid of the tomato worms, or you're not going to have any tomatoes, right? Like
Yes, yeah. And I like how you've said, about how we're really our roots are going deeper, and that whole evolution about the seed to the little sprout coming out. And and the other thing too is that sometimes we're just on different paths. You don't plant the potatoes next to the roses.
yes, yes, yes.
Look at us go getting our degree in horticulture.
Class next week. Yeah.
Yes.
I love that. So as we're growing and we're evaluating all these relationships and we're checking our mindset and we're checking our health, there's other stuff in there, right? Like there's
Yes.
other stuff. Like I know for me, when I figured out that even though I had a career, a very, very successful career, I had been in my medical career for 24 years, it wasn't fulfilling me. I was super successful. I got a recruitment call yesterday.
Hmm.
Go
Yeah.
back. I've been gone for almost 5 years, and but I wasn't being fulfilled, and something was still like there was still a passion that inside of me that was burning, that needed to come out, that needed to be shared, that needed to do something other than my medical career. And
Hmm.
yeah, until I figured out what that was, I'm still figuring it out. I just, okay, I'll do that next, right? But I'm still following my passion. And it's funny how so many of my ailments disappeared.
Yes.
When I
Yes.
stepped out, I didn't have a clue what my next step was going to be, but man, I was trusting something.
It's true. You know, there's a chapter in the book, for the listeners who aren't aware, I'm from Canada, and so you know, in northern Canada, we have a few more animals that are out and about. For example, bears. So there's a chapter in my book that talks about, you know, when you see a bear, you're taught to lay down and play dead, right? So that's the strategy. But what you're talking about, Erin, and what I'm doing in my life right now is I see the bear and I'm running full speed towards the bear and being like, okay, universe, don't leave me now. You know, all my steps have been guided so far, and I'm stepping out in faith, and I'm running towards the unknown. I don't know what the reaction is going to be, but I know that I need to keep moving forward to get there. And that living in your passion, that is what creates those incredible butterflies, but also the incredible joys that come with that. And when that, again, when the focus is shifted and we're thinking about the forward movement and the impact that we're having on the world because we're living within our passion, that's when it all comes together and when we can be truly joyful and not worried about, you know, that aching hip joint or, you know, the headache that a person may have had or that type of thing, or the relationship that is not nurturing, right? Because we are focused on our passion. And my experience has been as well, when we're focused on our passion, the money follows. And, you know, making money in our passion is a very important piece because so many of us have been taught you can't do what you love and still make money.
True. You're hitting me. I'm like getting all emotional on my end here, because it's so true. It's it was such a big deal for me to walk away from my medical career because of that point right there. How are you ever going to replace your income, Erin? How are you ever going to? You're not trained. You're not trained in anything. Blah blah blah. Shit from the non-supporter people, right?
Yeah.
I'm telling you what, like it my I stepped out and I replaced my income in the first less than 6 months. I had
Yes.
already exceeded what I was making in my medical career.
Wow. That is following your passion.
I mean that's I mean we're entrepreneurs, right? Like that yings and yangs, that webs and flows, that it's not always consistent, but I can remember going, I was so worried. I was so scared to leave. Clearly I can make an impact doing something other than surgery, right? Like clearly
Mhm.
I can heal hearts in a different way. Clearly, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's another way that I can still be fulfilled and follow a passion that's inside of me. And I want you guys to know too, I keep running Victoria Johnson's website across the screen. This is where you go to get her free ebook that she's graciously gifted all of our listeners. So you just go to her victoriajohnson.org, and there's a place that you can just say, yeah, I want your book, and go get it because it's amazing.
Yes. There's a pop up there for you.
That actually comes out in January. It actually
Yes.
gets published. So this is the ebook.
Yes. So the book comes out in January. I'm super excited about the launch. and I have several different cities scheduled for a book tour when it is released. So I'll make sure to keep you updated with all of that. And you know, I do cover the things that we've been talking about, you and I, in the book, covering that inner child piece and covering relationships and health, and now, you know, the passion and the prosperity piece that comes with working within your passion. And then I move into your spiritual life your way. And for many of us, we have been taught that our spiritual life is the way that our parents was, or our society was. And you know, so often we've grown up with this limited circle of what we're exposed to, and that becomes what is right. And then perhaps we're exposed to people from different cultures or different people around the world, and you know, they have the same belief system as well, that the way that they were raised in their culture and their religion and so on is the right way. And for me personally, I've just found my own path that works for me. And I was raised a Pentecostal preacher's kid, and it was a great life. You know, it was really wonderful, and I'm so incredibly grateful to be raised by, my mother was the pastor, and to be raised by such a strong um, missionary type visionary woman who was able to just go out and do things before women ever did them. The issue became when it didn't resonate with me. And then I had all of those feelings that we talked about earlier, you know, that I'm not enough, because in my heart of hearts, I don't believe this, and it's not ringing true for me, and it's not my passion, and made me feel that maybe I was less than. Well, there was no maybe. It made me feel that I was less than and unworthy. And so I think it's really important for everyone to find their own spiritual path and what resonates with them and what makes their heart full and what allows them to go out and to give back into the world.
It's amazing. And you know, I think so many of us have that same issue, regardless of our religious upbringing. We still have those thoughts, ideas, ways of being that our parents have implied this is the way it should be. And this is what should be happening. And this is how you should show up in the world. And those shoulds, a lot of times, are so restricting, and they become, we think those are who we are, right? Like, we don't realize that we have our own opinions, and we don't realize that we have a different way of believing, and we don't realize that that's okay too.
Yes, and you know what? That's just amazing that you've mentioned that, because that's something that I really teach in the Heal Your Life workshop teacher training, and the coach training, is the word should. So the word should, it implies guilt and blame. So either you were wrong, you're going to be wrong in the future, you're wrong right now. There's always guilt and blame associated with that word should. But when
Write that down, people. Write it down. That's a nugget, a big one.
Yes, and you know, you can convert that word into could, and give yourself that choice, right? And it can be something life-changing. It can be something very simple. You know, I'm 52 years old now, and so I remember being 50 years old and being like, I should have more money in the bank. I should have, you know, a proper setup for all my savings, and I should have my house almost paid for, and I should this and that, you know, all around finances, because I had turned 50 years old, right? Oh. And so then I stopped and really took a look at it from the same format that I teach, which is, if I really wanted to, I could. So if I really wanted to, I could have more money in the bank. If I really wanted to, I could have a structured savings. I really could have my house paid for. If I really wanted to, I could. So why don't I? And the answer was, because I don't really care about that right now. I really don't. I mean, I'm being responsible, but I would much rather travel and have experiences and just really live my life and help my kids and just have this great life while still being financially responsible, but not sitting home and obsessing about what the balance in my bank account is. So I was able to release all of that negativity, that blame, that guilt associated with the word should and turning 50 and my finances.
I want to point something out that's huge here too, people. The difference, I can see it on my end. And if you guys hit replay and go back and watch the difference in Victoria's face as she's talking about the difference between could and should, vibrationally, she even changes how she's talking. Her facial structure changes. How she holds her head changes. So I want you guys to just really take that and absorb it. How vibrationally words, simple, change your word from should to could, and watch what it does for you. Like, serious.
That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, the vibration of the word, right? Like could is a super high vibration word, and should is like in your face. Like,
yes.
I still see my mom shaking her finger at me, right?
Yes, yes. And so often in the business world too, we run into the people should, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is we get into those settings and people should do this and people should do that. And again, we're implying that guilt and blame, but now in the business setting. So it's another place to take a look at in your life is at work, or are you subscribing to those words? People should.
You got to challenge people. Check out your day at your office for the rest, the last 3 days of the week here, and see what you're subscribed to. Are you subscribed to could, or are you subscribed to should? I love that. Little challenge for you. So again, you guys, we've been talking to Victoria Johnson. She's fantastic. I'm going to run your, it's victoriajohnson.org back across the screen. If you want to pick up her free ebook, that is free to you guys until her book launches in January.
Yeah, so exciting.
So exciting. And then one other thing, if you guys want to check out her training and her trainings that she does, it's thetraining.ca. That's for Canada. Okay, because that's where she's at.
That's right. And so
go ahead.
The training is an internationally certified program, so it doesn't matter what country you live in. You can come and train, and your certification is valid when you return home.
And within those trainings, that's where you train people to do.
So to become Heal Your Life workshop teachers, as well as Heal Your Life coaches. So it's two separate programs. They're both 1 week programs. They're an intensive in-residence program. So everyone stays at the hotel. For example, in the first week, we spend the first couple of days on very deep personal growth work. And we go through a lot of Kleenex. I don't want to scare you, but it's just the truth. But it's great because it bonds the group. And as well, if you're going to be going out and teaching the work, Louise Hay's philosophies and so on, you want to be very familiar with them and have been doing the work yourself. So we spend the first couple of days on that and the rest of the week on how to go out and teach these workshops, including a full day of marketing. Just an absolutely amazing program. We sneak in a party night and have a lot of fun and some amazing dinners. And then for people who want to become a life coach, to become certified as a life coach as well, they stay on for the second week of training, which is similar to the first, but with a lot of hands-on practical coaching going on as well.
Yeah, you guys, if that's in your wheelhouse, if Louise Hay lives as strong on your bookshelf as she does mine.
Absolutely.
And I know that when I started this spiritual path, her book was the very first one that I bought. You Can Heal Your Life, and it is life changing.
It really is. And thank you again for sharing that. I will say, just coming fresh back from Vegas from Hay House U, there, the event they held, the people that would come by the booth and say those words, "This book changed my life." Mm-hmm. And it's such a simple book, You Can Heal Your Life. I always say it's simple, but it's not easy. right?
Right.
And I don't want to put that negative connotation out there, but I'm sure people listening have heard the expression, that personal growth isn't for the faint of heart, because
Right.
there's a lot of work that goes on with that. And the people that would stop by and they would share the amazing stories of how they healed their life through the foundation of that book was absolutely incredible, and how it opened them up to so many other authors and teachers, and was part of their transformation. So I appreciate you sharing that story as well.
Yeah. And I think that, those of us on the journey are not alone either. And the inspiration has come hot and heavy from one Louise Hay in the world. The heavens gained a massive angel not too long
Yes.
ago. There should be a national lower the flag day here in the US.
Yes. She's
For
she's
that lady. She's instrumental in so many people's worlds. And again, you guys, we've been talking to Victoria Johnson. Um, and I really, really appreciate your time and your energy and your wicked knowledge. You guys go hang out in her space. Do you have a group, Victoria? Do you have a?
I don't have a group going right now. I do have the Facebook page, so it's at Heal Your Life Training on
Mhm.
Facebook. My Instagram is at Heal Your Life Canada, and my personal email is victoria at thetraining.ca. And I absolutely love just sharing with people, and hearing their stories and talking to them, and knowing how their life has been transformed, and answering any questions that they have as well. And yes, like you said, the work of Louise Hay has changed so many people's lives. I think that book is at 50 million worldwide right now. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy. I know.
It has been a wonderful teaching experience for me, and opened the doors to, many, many, many other authors and teachers.
It's beautiful, beautiful. Will you do me a favor when we're off air and drop some links in the feed here for our people so they can just quickly click and go to find you? And again, you guys, we've been talking to Victoria Johnson. She is a world-renowned trainer, a life coach. She's an international speaker and author, and backed by Hay House. And the links to her free book, it's an ebook until it comes out in print in January, are going to be down here in the feed for you as well. If you've been live with us, thank you so much. We totally acknowledge your time and your effort to be with us in the middle of your day, or whenever the day is for you. If you're watching the replay, please hashtag replay and let us know that you're watching the replay, and we 100% appreciate your time and your effort there as well. If we've touched your life in some way, shape, or form today, we want to know that as well too. So Victoria Johnson, thank you so much for your time. Hang out with me for just a second once we're off air. Everybody else, have a lovely, lovely rest of your day today, and we'll see you right back here soon. Take care.
Thank you.